The city lights flickered against the glass towers. Rain had just washed the streets clean. A luxury car stopped in the middle of the avenue inside. Ethan's hands tightened on the wheel. He was 34. Sharp suit, CEO of a booming tech firm on the surface. He had everything. Beside him sat Mia, the woman he'd promised forever. She was 7 months pregnant. Her red dress stretched over her growing belly. She whispered, "You've been distant for weeks." Ethan stared ahead. Voice low, "Mia, I can't do this anymore." Her breath caught. Can't do what? The marriage? The pretense. I'm in love with someone else. Her fingers trembled on her lap. The city noise faded. You're leaving me now with our child. Ethan opened the door, cold wind rushing in. She understands me. I can't keep living a lie. Mia stepped out of the car onto the wet street. The neon signs blurred through her tears. Ethan drove away without looking back. A black sedan pulled up moments later. Isabella stepped out. 29, sleek white dress, hair perfect. She wrapped her arms around Ethan. You did it, she smiled. He kissed her, unaware of the eyes watching from a nearby building, from her corner office high above. Mia's assistant saw everything by morning. Whispers spread through the company. Few knew Mia was not just Ethan's wife. She was the silent partner, the real architect behind the firm's success. She walked into the boardroom that day in a tailored red blazer, her voice steady. We proceed with the merger. No mention of her husband's betrayal, but her mind was already drawing a new plan that night. She sat in her penthouse, city lights stretching beyond the windows. She held a framed photo of them from happier days. Her phone buzzed. Messages flooding in Isabella's face appeared on a gossip site beside Ethan's. Mia wiped her tears. She whispered to her unborn child, "We don't need him." She opened her laptop and began transferring assets quietly, bank accounts, shares, real estate titles. The next morning, Ethan arrived at headquarters with Isabella on his arm. Executives whispered. Mia greeted them with a polite smile. Her composure unnerved him. At lunch, Isabella leaned close. She seems calm, Ethan smirked. She'll crumble soon, but when they returned to his office, his nameplate was gone. The security badges no longer worked. Mia stood in the doorway, red dress glowing against the gray walls. Her tone was ice. You forgot one thing, Ethan. This company is mine. He froze. Isabella's hand slipped from his. The board members stepped out from the conference room. Silent witnesses. Mia handed Ethan a single envelope inside. The divorce papers. She turned and walked away. Heels clicking on the marble floor, Ethan called after her. Voice cracking. Mia, wait! She didn't look back. The elevator doors closed. Her reflection vanishing behind steel down on the street. Reporters gathered, cameras flashing. Mia exhaled and placed a hand on her belly. The city roared around her, but her resolve was unshakable. She would rebuild not for revenge alone, but for the child who would bear her name. Mia stepped off the curb and into the waiting car. Her assistant Claire closed the door and whispered, "The press is everywhere." Mia's voice was calm. Let them talk. They only see the surface. The city skyline blurred past the window. Her phone rang. It was the bank manager, confirming the transfer of controlling shares. Mia replied, "Proceed. Make sure no documents trace back to him." At the same time, Ethan stormed into a downtown hotel suite. Isabella poured champagne. Smiling too soon, he slammed his fist against the table. "She cut me out." Isabella blinked. "But you said she'd be powerless." "She owns everything," Ethan muttered. Staring out at the skyline, I underestimated her across town. Mia entered her private office. Claire waited with a folder of strategic plans. Mia flipped through the pages, her face unreadable. She was already coordinating with investors, securing new deals. Every step she took was precise, deliberate, quiet. That evening, she returned to her penthouse. She stood by the window, one hand on her belly, the other holding a glass of water. The city lights below looked smaller now. She whispered to her unborn child, "This is our fresh start." Meanwhile, Ethan's phone buzzed with angry messages from board members. His accounts were frozen, his influence slipping fast. Isabella's smile faded as she read the headline's betrayal at the top. CEO cut out by pregnant wife. She looked at Ethan and asked, "What do we do now?" Ethan didn't answer the next morning. Mia appeared at a charity gala in a flowing red gown. The room hushed when she entered. Investors who once praised Ethan now surrounded her. They saw strength where Ethan saw weakness, in the corner of the ballroom. Ethan watched from the shadows. He had thought abandoning her would make him free, but now he saw the cost her success without him was louder than any revenge as the music swelled. Mia smiled for the cameras. She was no longer the betrayed wife. She was the CEO in her own right, and Ethan felt, for the first time, a flicker of fear. He left the ballroom unnoticed, the sound of laughter chasing him into the cold night on the street. His phone buzzed again, another message from a lawyer. His assets were tied up, pending review of the divorce terms. He cursed under his breath and shoved the phone into his pocket upstairs. Mia thanked the donors and excused herself early. She needed quiet after the glare of cameras back in her penthouse. She sank onto the sofa and felt the baby's small kick. Was a reminder that she wasn't alone. She opened a folder marked "Expansion." Inside were plans for a new branch of the company, one that would cut Ethan out completely. Claire joined her. Setting tea on the table. "Mia, the board is rallying behind you. They trust your leadership?" Mia nodded. "Trust is earned, and I won't let them down." Meanwhile, Ethan sat at a dim bar, a glass of whiskey untouched before him. Isabella scrolled through headlines on her phone, panic in her voice. "Your reputation is falling fast. If you don't act, you'll be finished." Ethan clenched his jaw. "I built that company too. I'll find a way back in." He spent the next days calling old contacts. Doors that once opened easily now closed on him. The investors who had once flattered him were suddenly unavailable. Even the press shifted its focus to Mia's rise. Mia, meanwhile, moved forward with precision. She visited construction sites, negotiated with partners, and signed deals at each step. She remained composed behind the scenes. She arranged security measures to prevent Ethan's interference. One afternoon, Ethan showed up uninvited at her office. She met him in the lobby, her expression calm but firm. He spoke through clenched teeth. "We can fix this. We can raise our child together." She held her ground. "You chose your path, Ethan. Now walk it." He reached for her hand, but she stepped back. Security escorted him out. That night, Mia stood on her balcony, watching the city glow. She thought of the life she had built, the betrayal she had endured, and the strength she had found. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered, "We're almost there." Far below, Ethan stood on the sidewalk. Looking up at her lit window for the first time, he understood what he had lost, and the realization hollowed him out more than the cold wind ever could. The next morning, headlines flashed across every screen. Mia Carter expands empire, launches global initiative. The world applauded her vision, her strength, her leadership. Ethan watched from a small apartment he now rented. His former power reduced to memories. Isabella packed her things quietly. She had grown tired of his spiraling anger and failed schemes. Without a word, she walked out, leaving the keys on the table. Ethan didn't try to stop her. He knew he had already lost everything that mattered. Meanwhile, Mia prepared for the launch of her company's new headquarters. She stepped onto the stage. Greeted by applause that echoed through the hall, she spoke with clarity and purpose. "This is not just a business expansion. It is proof that strength grows in the face of betrayal." Investors rose to their feet, cameras flashing. Claire smiled from the wings. Pride in her eyes. Mia's voice stayed steady, but inside she felt her child's gentle kick and knew why she had fought so hard. Later that evening, after the celebration, she returned to her penthouse. The city glowed below like a sea of stars. She laid a small blanket in the nursery, running her fingers across the crib's edge. The baby would be born into stability, not chaos. She whispered, "You will never feel abandoned." On the street below, Ethan lingered in the shadows. He watched the warm light spill from her windows. The sound of distant traffic surrounded him, but all he felt was silence. He thought of the day he left her, of the promises broken and the trust shattered. Regret pressed against his chest. Heavy and unrelenting, Mia closed the curtains and exhaled. She didn't need to look outside to know he was there, but she would not let his choices define her future. She turned off the lights, ready for the life she had built without him. Ethan walked away into the empty street. Each step echoed his loss, and somewhere high above, Mia and her unborn child slept in peace. The story of their lives had turned, and the final page belonged to her.